Hello everyone, this is Chelsea from Those with Words. Welcome to the channel. Today I will be sharing with you a Journal With Me session about the Pelikan Hub event this year. I will be journaling about it in this brown to and fro traveler's notebook. And as you can see here on the inside in the leather folder, I have a couple of ephemera items from the event that I would like to include. And in terms of the notebook I chose, I actually decided to include the Pelikan Hub journaling alongside the San Francisco Pen Show, which happened at the end of August. I felt like, the events happened within just a couple of weeks of each other, and the events were similar in a way that, it gathers people who like pens, fountain pen ink, stationery, and all of that good stuff in the same place. So I decided to just dedicate a couple of pages in the same notebook to the Pelikan Hub. This was my first Pelikan Hub ever. It's basically an event hosted by the pen brand Pelikan, and the hubs are basically gatherings across hundreds of cities around the world that happen on that specific day during the year. And each location or each hub has a specific hub master or the organizer who puts together, the specific gathering point, if you want food or not, what are some of the fun things that are going to be happening at that specific hub. And so huge shout out to the event hub master that I went to, Kimberly, who is All the Hobbies on Instagram, for planning this fun event. So the agenda when I went there was really open, and so I got there, had some pizza, saw a couple of familiar faces, so I made sure to say hello, and we got our freebies, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Right now I'm just pasting in this postcard, which was actually one of the items that Pelikan sent to each hub for this Pelikan Hub event, and just chatted about fountain pens. I do not have a Pelikan pen in my collection, and so at first I was a little bit wary of attending this because, I go to a Pelikan Hub and I don't even have a Pelikan pen. Is that okay? But folks were so nice, and everybody from the beginning was very clear about you don't have to have a Pelikan pen in order to come to a Pelikan Hub and chat with other folks who just really enjoy fountain pens. So I decided to just go and see, what the event was like, and ended up having a really fun time across the 2 hours. As you can see here, I'm just using a Zig Clean color dot in the metallic silver to highlight the Pelikan Hub heading. And you can see there that I was trying different people's pens, all the EF through B, the nibs and the different colors. That was me playing with different people's Pelikan pens who, they so kindly just let me try on my notebook. And some of the thicker nibs really wrote like a marker. Like I think I put that up there, Pelikan M800, like a marker. This A6 notepad here is one of the freebies from the hub, and it's just a writing pad. I didn't open it or use it yet, but I imagine it's for, writing down stuff and swatching inks and things like that. This dot grid notebook set from Story Supply Co. was actually just a generous gift from our hub master, who just had extras of this Kickstarter project in her home, and so she just brought a bunch of notebooks and just shared them with us, which I thought was very kind. I have these two ink swatching cards that I ended up grabbing at the SF Pen Show, and now I am about to swatch two inks, the first of which is the Pelikan Edelstein Rose Quartz ink, and then this one is also that Kickstarter project, so thank you again to the Hubmaster, Kimberly, for giving out that ink. And this swatching card, I don't know if you can see here, is really interesting. It's got these really fun patterns on it. And so when you actually swatch the ink, the buildings and houses that are illustrated there will show up very vividly. Hopefully you'll be able to see that a little bit better once I actually end up swatching the inks. I just grabbed a paper towel there. I was actually quite nervous because I have a past experience of ruining this exact same desk mat while playing with ink on here. But for the purpose of filming this video, I actually really like having the desk mat on there. Otherwise, with the lighting that I use for filming, it looks really like the shadow that my camera holder, or my phone holder in this case, casts over my desk is very obvious. And so I always use this desk mat to film. And so I was very nervous about ruining yet another one, but hopefully, or I should say, gladly, that did not happen this time. Here is the first ink. It's Papier Plume. And this one I think is just called Heart of Gold. I think it was part of that Kickstarter project. It's this beautiful red vivid ink. And there's a little bit of orange in there as well. I thought it was really pretty. And so I first swatched it on that card to reveal, the really fun houses and buildings on that card. And then this is actually a sample sheet from Hobonichi that they gave out before they switched the paper to the new Tomoe River paper. And they gave you a little sampler in the prior year to say, hey, this is what the paper is going to be like next year. So try it out. So I've been using that monthly spread just as a little swatching tool just to see what it would look like on Tomoe River paper. Last but not least, I'm using Plotter's panel layout paper. And Plotter uses, their own paper, and I wanted to see what that looks like as well. This is also a really fun ink swatching layout for me because I get to lay down a whole bunch of ink and then I actually write a little bit like about the brand and the name of the ink. I don't actually do that on these other cards or the other papers that I swatched it on. And so this is a really useful way for me to keep track of a couple of the ink bottles that I have. I don't have too many. A bunch of the ones that you see on the Hobonichi monthly, there are samples from friends. And so it's just a really good way for me to keep track of it. I have a bunch of these panel layout papers with the name there like that as well. So here is what that ink looks like all next to each other. And then, of course, the Pelikan ink rose quartz. So this was the ink that was provided to anybody who RSVP'd for the Pelikan Hub and attended the event. It's actually a pretty hefty bottle, so I was quite surprised when I opened it. I did not play with it at the hub itself because I was scared of making a mess with the ink, and so I actually didn't open it until I got home. And what's interesting is the ink almost looks like the bottle, the outside looks green. So I was like, I thought this was a pink ink, and it is indeed a very beautiful pink ink. I think it's just maybe the way that it looks against the glass or something. It was really interesting how that happened. But I really, really like this ink. It's not the kind of ink that I would have bought for myself in a bottle. I usually play it really safe. And I only have a very few bottles of ink, and they're all kind of like dark green, brown. I briefly considered a purple, but I don't have a purple bottle of ink yet. So I like to play it safe. And so this kind of really pinkish hue of ink is not usually something I would have gone for in a big bottle like this, but this was provided to us by Pelikan, and it's a very, very pretty pink. I actually really enjoy it. It's like this muted shade of pink, and it's very matte. I think I wrote that earlier when I tried it in somebody's pen at the hub, and it's just really, really pretty. And I was surprised by how much I enjoy this ink, and this is what it looks like. I think there's a little bit of like purple sheen as well. At least that's what I'm seeing. But again, I'm pretty new to fountain pen inks, and so if I'm not getting all the ink lingo right, please feel free to let me know in the comments. But I really enjoy it, and I look forward to using this ink. And here's that swatch all next to each other. And those are the two ink bottles that I received at the Pelikan Hub event. And now that the inks have dried on these beautiful swatch cards, I'm just going to paste them into this particular page in the journal. This stamp, the fountain pen stamp that you see here, is a handmade stamp by Eric Smallthings, and I got to stamp it in my journal during the Eric Smallthings workshop at the San Francisco Pen Show. So I thought this was a really fun place to display these two ink cards, which I just put down with some dot liner. And yeah, it was a really fun event. And like I said, even though I didn't have a Pelikan, it was really nice to be able to just chat with people and just catch up with them, a couple of familiar faces, like I said, and just meet new people and hear about, how they first got into Pelikan, how they first got into fountain pens in the first place. There was also a sort of a fun trivia type thing hosted by the Hubmaster, just talking about her experience with fountain pens, and there were a couple of fun giveaways, which obviously are not necessarily required or anything at each hub, but the Hubmaster was nice enough to put together some giveaways, and some folks were destashing things, and it was just a really sort of a free-for-all type of event, if you will. All you really needed to do this year was RSVP a couple of months in advance. And I think there were a couple of hoops to jump through. So I remember maybe back around May or June or something along those lines, you had to kind of tell Pelikan that you had the intention of attending. And then later on, they actually sent you the RSVP link. So then you could actually RSVP on their website and like choose a city. And if there are enough people RSVP'd for that particular city, then it turns into a formal hub where you get the Hubmaster/organizer, and Pelikan mails stuff to that person to give out for that event. I'm just decorating this page a little bit here to give it a little bit more color. I really like this PET tape. It reminds me of the rose quartz ink. That's why I chose this to include in the journal. So I'm just cutting around the PET tape before I place it into the page. I go back and forth between these two spreads quite a bit. I've mentioned this before, but this is really how I journal, so I hope you don't mind that. And here I am just writing a note about the event. It was on a Friday evening and it was after work. And even though I work from home, which I feel very privileged to be able to do, I was still at like a low energy level at the end of the workday. At the end of the work week, you're just tired. And usually on Friday nights, I don't really do anything, too wild. I just like to stay at home and recharge basically prior to the weekend. But I drove over to the event, which was thankfully not that far from me. It was about maybe a less than 30-minute drive. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to work up the energy. And I RSVP'd, like I said yes to pizza. I'm going to show up. And so I made sure to get there on time. And I'm going to be honest, I wasn't sure if I was going to see anyone I knew aside from the Hubmaster. So I was a little bit nervous. I was like, oh, will I see anyone there? Will anyone say anything, because I don't have a Pelikan pen, or I didn't really bring any, really, I don't know, like well-known fountain pens with me. I just kind of had like my TWSBI Ecos and my Platinum 3776 that I got ground by Pen Realm from the pen show. And so just things like that. And I brought this traveler's notebook. Yeah, so I'm writing a couple of highlights here now, just with the new ink, with the Kakimori nib, which is actually perfect. I actually really enjoy this Kakimori nib for things exactly like this, where I can just dip into the bottle and just write immediately. So I really enjoy that. I decided to write it in this particular ink because, of course, I had to. It's the ink that was given to us at the event. And then right now I'm just using up the rest of this PET tape. There are a couple of like little pieces there, so I decided to fill the corner of this page with that. And I remember thinking to myself, let's not try to, or I guess let's not try to over decorate, these pages, and try to leave them as is, because I kind of wanted the highlights to be more of the writing and, the inks and the different pens that I tried. And so yeah, I'm just sticking down a couple of PET tape pieces from like this sample roll that I have in the sticker book, which I, again, really enjoy using because it's really easy to see everything and put everything in one place for me to just pick out and use in my journals. And I'm trying to pick out a couple more pieces for this spread, which I left pretty bare bones. And I do think I went back and maybe wrote something else behind the postcard a little bit later on. I like to do that. Sometimes if I just have additional thoughts I like to add or reflections or anything that else that I want to write about, sometimes I'll put in like that postcard from the event or a postcard that just reminds me of the event, and then I'll just write behind it. This is actually that Platinum 3776 that I was talking about, and it has a cursive italic grind, which I really, really like. And I just decided to write a little bit saying, hey, this was a fun postcard from that event. And then we also got this crap sticker from the Hubmaster. And so I'm just writing like little captions for the stickers. I did not want to hoard these stickers. I wanted to just put them in the journal and write about it. And so that is exactly what I did, which I don't know, vinyl stickers, when they're really nice and they're really cute, I have a tendency to hoard them and not use them. And starting with the SF Pen Show, I decided to just, if I get something at an event, I'm just going to put it down and write about it. So that's exactly what I did here. Tried not to hesitate, and I think it worked out pretty well. And because that little area to the left of that pink PET tape is a little bit empty, I decided to put a thin washi tape there, and I'm just looking for a sticker to put down. And I think that's all I do. I don't think I write anything else too much in this video. And I sort of leave that empty space as is for the most part, I think. But yeah, it was a really fun event. I know I keep repeating myself, but I was so, so happy that I made the time for it, and I made sure to go, say hello, get to know a couple people. And I also really liked that Have a Fine Day stamp. It was from one of the attendees, and they were sharing it with everybody, and I thought that was so nice. And I saw people stamping it on their traveler's notebooks, their Hobonichi weeks, all of that fun stuff. So yeah, overall, a really fun experience, and I would definitely like to go again next year. Here are the ink swatches for your viewing pleasure. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you take care. Until next time, bye.